You're listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and have your work build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.
Hello, and welcome to the Author Inside You podcast. I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah Rafferty.
Joining us today is author Kelsey Clifton. Kelsey grew up in Texas and has been writing since she was a child. Her debut novel, A Day Out of Time, was released in August of 2018. Welcome, Kelsey. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Congratulations, Kelsey, on your first book. But I heard you already released a second book. How did you accomplish that?
I actually did. And the third book in the series is hopefully going to be coming out in the spring.
Wow.
So it sounds very impressive to say, like, oh, I released 2 books within like a 7-month span. But in reality, like, I've been writing these books in this series for about 5 years now, about 5 or 6. So Day at a Time was one of the series that I started pitching the first book to agents when I'd had like a few years under my belt, a few books, a few manuscripts, and I really believed in this book. I loved it. I loved the story, and I was really wanting to pitch it. So for a long time, that was my main focus, and I didn't have much success for a long time. And I had one almost taker, and this agent's assistant actually helped me work on the book and edit it, and so it ended up, becoming most of the book that was released. But in the meantime, like during this 5 or 6 year period while I was pitching it, I was working on the second book, and I was working on the third book after that. So like it does sound very, very impressive to say I released all these books within, a certain amount of time. But the reality is a little bit more complicated than that.
Okay, well, it sounds like someone really helped you out. But the assistant?
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely,
just by talking
yes.
back and forth through emails, or how did you correspond with this individual?
So it was during a pitch, and this assistant was the first almost line of defense to the agent, and she really, really loved the book. She absolutely went nuts over it. So I didn't speak very often directly with the agent until like the very end of the process, when I ended up ultimately being turned down. But throughout the middle bits, I was just speaking with her assistant, Sarah, and we went back and forth with the books. Like, she sent me editorial notes, like we had phone conversations. Like, she was very, very excited about the project, and it was very comforting to me to know that someone who saw all these manuscripts day in and day out really believed in this book as much as I did.
Sure. And to have professional advice.
Exactly. And like her advice and her insight was so incredibly helpful. Even the bits that I disagreed with for different reasons, it was incredibly instrumental, and it made the book what it was. And so when I ultimately, like maybe like a year, maybe 2 years later, after I was eventually turned down by this agent herself, when I decided ultimately to self-publish, the book was essentially ready. I just gave it one final like go through and polish, and then 6 more, because that's the nature of, of being an artist of any kind, is you can't leave it alone. But it was essentially ready to go, and I was able to release it within a month of making the decision.
Wow, that's great. Well, what was the process like when you were searching for agents?
Frustrating, heartbreaking. Do we have an hour for all the adjectives that it is? Because it's a lot. For one thing, when I first started, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, let's be honest. I first started sending stuff out for my first book when I was 19 or 20.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first book. I was 20 years old. With the second book, I tried to query, got a little bit better, but still very unformed. But then with this one, with A Day at a Time, that was the first semi-okay one. Like, I got a few requests for partials. I got a couple of requests for the full, and like I said, even almost made it to the end, like that big goal,
that's incredible,
of eventually being it. Yeah, even though she did ultimately turn me down, it was a really important learning experience.
And then you eventually ended up going with self-publishing?
I'd tried it on and off for about 6 years, going the traditional route, and it's something that a lot of authors don't talk about very much is it's not just hard. Like it's taxing. It's physically taxing. Like it's not fun. Querying sucks. it's awful. Like even just like taking out the emotional aspect of it, like everyone wants something different. Everyone has different advice. Like a lot of agents will have pages saying, this is what I recommend in a good pitch, and everyone wants something different. So it's a lot of just grueling, kind of thankless work, and it's not fun. And I got through about 6 years of it while continuing to write and live my life and do other things. And I was over it for the time. Like I was done. I was just focusing on writing. And a friend of mine named Matt, who we've been friends for a few years, he sent me this article about a woman who decided to self-publish. She was tired of being told no, and she decided to self-publish, I think a graphic novel maybe. Okay. And within like 8 hours, it was fully funded. Oh my God, that sounds that sounds incredible. Well, I did a little digging because it was on Kickstarter. I did a little digging, and it turns out that she was a comic book artist, so she had a fairly large audience already. This was like her 4th book. I'm like, okay, this story's not that. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. But reading about her decision got me thinking, and I sat there. I'm like, you know what? Like I'd had author friends that I'd met during my life, like mention the same thing, like, why not self-publish? I'm like, no, I want to do it the traditional way. I want to, like, it's a bit about gatekeeping. Like you want to know that you're worthy to do it. And so that's what I was really gung-ho about. Like, I want to be worthy. You want to see yourself as worthy. You want others to see you as worthy. And I mean, let's be honest, in a lot of ways, in a lot of cases, we kind of look down on self-publishing. Like it's not held up to the same echelons as like one of the big 5 or a traditionally published book, even though I've read some garbage published books, like traditionally published ones. We all have. I've read some garbage self-published books. There's going to be garbage and gems no matter what. But this moment represented a big shift for me because I just got tired of making myself wait. And I said, you know what? Like I would rather just do it myself and
take control
and just have it out there. Yeah. And just have it out there.
The big part of self-publishing is getting the word out because you don't have the publisher behind you.
That's it. Exactly.
Right. So I'm sure that took a lot of thinking and a lot of soul searching of how am I going to get people to hear about my book? So what was your game plan?
Oh, I went into this with so much naivete because my plan involved a lot of social media use because social media is in a lot of ways like where promotion is going. And I had several social media channels. I had a Twitter, I had an Instagram, I had a Facebook, so I could make a Facebook like author profile. I could build a website. Like I had all these grand ideas involving social media. The problem with a lot of like the viral trends right now and like the creators is that it's content creation and it has to be fairly consistent and fairly constant. And I am at heart a very casual social media user. So that I overestimated my ability to put content out all the time.
Right, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. And I have other things in my life and I don't think about it. And I'm just like, oh God, I haven't posted to Instagram in forever. Oh, I haven't done Twitter in forever. The only one that I'm consistently active on, like every day, more or less, is my Tumblr. And even that's not always original content. So Tumblr, honestly, was not a platform that I expected to have that much of an impact on my writing career. I already had one. It was just a casual, fun thing. But then I started turning it into what's called a write blur. It's something writers use to advance their platforms and to talk about their work and to connect with other writers and with readers. And it's a really good platform for it. And I just did it because it was part of my big social media push. But honestly, the reaction and the feedback that I got from Tumblr has been the biggest out of any of the social media platforms. Wow. Honestly.
I have to say that we've done interviews with 108 or 110 authors, and I don't think anyone has mentioned Tumblr as a resource.
That's so tell us a little bit more about it.
Basically, it's a blogging website, but it's almost like Facebook, in that, like, you see feeds from people, like you see posts that they've either made or reblogged, and then you can reblog it. You can make your own personal content. And so it's like, at first I had no idea what I was doing. Nobody ever does. And I just kind of jumped into it. And then, like I said, like, eventually when I decided to utilize it, along with the rest of my social media, I turned it into a write blur. So I just, I made, it required me to learn more about coding than I ever thought I would need to learn, because you have a profile page, and I eventually made little side pages that had all the information on my books. So you can actually, like, from the main page of my Tumblr, there are links that will send you to individual pages about each of my ongoing projects.
Oh, great.
And yeah, you can see excerpts sometimes. You can see original artwork, for example, from Day Out of Time. You can see, like, there's little character descriptions. And so you can, read descriptions of the characters, and you can see the individual artwork. If it's a project I haven't had any art commission for yet, like, I'll do what's called like a face claim. Like, oh, if I was casting this character from, like, Hollywood, it would be so and so. Like, this is what they would look like.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So that's really useful. It helps me to visualize it, but it also helps to gain new readers. And I just started posting information about these characters and this story. I started posting small excerpts. A lot of it has been unedited. So it's like, hey, I wrote this kind of quick little scene. It's cute, and you like people that you're either, like, they're called mutuals, but it's like being friends with them. People who follow you or who are mutuals, like, they can also reblog your work. They can comment on it, and it gets it out there. And I have met people through there who have reviewed the book, who have made posts about it themselves and spread the word, who've obviously bought the books and who are really, really enjoy these worlds and these stories that I have to tell. And it's been amazing.
Great. So was it all trial and error, or did you take a course, like an online course or anything on Tumblr?
Oh, no, definitely trial and error. Definitely trial and error. I can't even imagine a course on Tumblr. It's actually, honestly, if you just have someone to go over the basics with you, it's fairly intuitive. But I didn't have someone. I didn't ask anyone. I just kind of made a profile and started messing around, and eventually got a little bit better at it and a little bit better. And you just... It's not hard. It's just, I had no idea what I was doing when I first started it.
Great. And did you do anything special to get more people to follow you? Like, did you follow other people and they follow you back?
Yeah, actually, that does help, because Tumblr is actually really good about promoting similar blogs with similar interests, because some blogs are they're a jumble. It's random content. Some blogs are very dedicated to one or two specific things. So, like, some blogs are all writing advice, for example, or it's all like fandom things for Marvel or for whatever fandom they're in. Some people are just like nature blogs. Like, you can be very specific if you want to, or you can be kind of a garbage fire like me and mostly do writing stuff, but throw in some random content as well. But Tumblr will recommend different blogs to you, and I started following a lot of those blogs. If someone made a post, like, recommending someone else, or they reblogged a post, I'm like, oh, that looks cool, and I started following them. And in a lot of cases, it does work. But also, the people who are mutuals with me and who can see my posts, they reblog them, and then their followers can see it, and maybe their followers reblog it, and it creates this, like, chain reaction. Because posts can have, like, a couple of what they're called notes. Like, if someone likes them or reblogs them, they can have a couple of notes, or they can have, like, a few 100,000 notes.
Wow.
That's for some posts, that's very common. Not one of mine currently yet.
Well, we were looking at your Facebook page, and I have to say, I like how you posted what you were up to. Like, you mentioned that you were going to speak with us tonight. And I think that's a nice way, because I'm like, oh boy, look at Kelsey's really busy.
Yeah. She's got things going on.
This is, you can tell that there was a post on Facebook about different promotional stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna contact everybody. These guys look great. These guys look great. Like, I went on a bit of a spree with that. But yeah, it's like I'm glad you like the look of that. It's, if you don't look down the feed though, because it's probably the first post I've made in like 3 weeks. Like, I go through. This is what I mean by casual. I go through phases. I'm like, oh my god, I should post, and I go up on a peak, and then it just sort of falls by the wayside for the next week and a half.
Yes.
And so it's not very consistent.
Well, Matt and I have that problem, but it's because I'm always telling Matt, oh, people don't want to hear about us, stop, and we have a person we interviewed, an author, Danielle Daly, and she says, throw it out there, keep throwing it out there, because not everyone is going to see your feed. Just because someone's friends with you or doesn't mean they're going to see your feed.
So Danielle says to post 3 times a day on, Facebook or on Twitter, and then just keep going. And then chances are people aren't going to see all 3 of them because they're not going on Facebook that many times throughout the day. So I know, but it is a lot of work. It is, coming up with something to say, and
but also making sure that it's relevant. I wish this was a video call so you could see my eyes like widen when you said 3 times a day. I'm like, Jesus. Also making sure that it's relevant, because honestly, I sometimes have a hard time deciding what would be relevant. Instagram is kind of one thing because it is very photo based. So I already had like a decent Instagram before. Like I used it, relatively often. And so that's not that bad. It's photo based, but for Facebook updates, so unless I'm having like a specific event, like a sale or a book signing, or there's some kind of very important update, like, hey, I'm going to release the cover art for the next book coming soon. I've decided on a release date. Unless it's something like that, I have a hard time, like you, feeling that it's relevant, because it's just, what am I going to post up? Still writing. We're being
right.
Don't know where this fight scene goes. Like, what am I going to post on my day to day?
Right.
Well, what about your cover art? How did you find an artist for your cover?
You can thank Tumblr again.
Oh, okay.
When I was first getting into it, like I had vague ideas. I knew that I really wanted it to be kind of a dynamic cover, and I wanted to show these characters on it. And part of my feed, like, you get artists reblogged all the time. And I honestly just went into Tumblr and I searched for blogs dedicated to like graphic artists, those who are open for commissions. And I just dug through a lot of different art blogs and different styles until I found a woman named Miranda Moorhead. And I was looking through her Tumblr page and then looking through her website, and I loved her art style. Great. I thought it was beautiful. It was dynamic. It was exactly like what I was looking for this style of book, because the book it's not serious. And in like a very, very large part of it, neither of the books are super serious. Like, they have moments of, kind of heartbreak. They have more serious, quiet moments, but by and large, they're a little goofy. They're a little ridiculous. Like, they're meant to be generally lighthearted. So, I didn't need like a super hyper realistic image. I needed dark colors. I needed something brighter. I needed something eye-catching. And I contacted her through Tumblr and asked if she was open for commissions. And we started emailing. And the first couple of sketches she sent me, I really love. And she is so great to work with, because she'll send me, I'll send her like a ginormous email full of like character descriptions, like their physical features, but also like, hey, if I was casting a celebrity, here's who it would be. That's where the face claim comes in. Really, really helpful. And like, this is a bit their personality. Like, this is kind of what I'm thinking of for the background, but I don't know. And she'll send back maybe 4 or 5 kind of light compositional sketches so I can see like body positions and some background options. And we go from there. Like, we pick one that we like.
Yeah, control then too.
Oh God, yes.
That's
wonderful. Like, I have. She gives me incredible control over the important things, and I give her incredible control over the details.
Great.
I'm just like, I trust you to do this. Like these are the important things. Everything else, have at it. Have fun.
What a nice relationship it sounds like.
It is. It's fantastic. And it's been so good that like I fully intend on using her for the 3rd book. And she's actually right now working on the cover art for a standalone novel that I'm going to be releasing in early December, hopefully.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah. You are on a roll.
Yeah.
I've been writing since I was 19, and I turned 30 tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday. Oh,
very
big deal.
exciting.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
So thank you.
Yeah.
This is a great early birthday present.
Yes. So can I ask you something else? It's related to your website. I see a very cute caricature of you, I believe, with next to
Oh,
books.
yeah.
I love that. That is so cute.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. So who did that?
So that was actually a friend of mine named Jesse Nieto. We met because he worked at a coffee shop that I went to all the time. His brother was one of the managers, and when they opened this new chain in the coffee shops, he wanted me to start a book club there.
Oh, okay.
He said, like, I think it'll be a really cool idea. And all of my, my Instagram, my Twitter handles are all at Kelsey_writes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah. So, like, I tried to keep it a little consistent. So he thought it would be kind of cute to have the book club be Kelsey Reads. I'm like, oh, that's cute. And Jesse's a graphic artist. When his brother had this idea, he said, hey, can you draw something as like a graphic to advertise this? And we paid him like $20 to do it.
Oh,
and
wow.
What
a deal.
He was unemployed at the time for graphic artists. So it was very easy. But he was like, yeah, not a problem. And that's what he came up with. And I
very
love it.
nice.
Yeah, that is very cool.
I absolutely love it. Like that's why I use it on the website. Like I have a Facebook group for Kelsey Reads, and that's the header for it. Like, I love that graphic. Yeah. I'm gonna use it forever.
Yes.
So just to the left of that on your webpage, it says Publishers Weekly calls A Day Out of Time a fun romp.
Indeed, it does.
Yes. How did you get Publishers Weekly to review your book?
So it was very simple, and yet a very long process, because they do take a while to review books. So basically they have a companion website, I believe, called booklife.com. And on it, you can do all kinds of useful things. Like you can find new books to read if you're self-published. You can search for editors or for book cover artists, like all kinds of stuff. But you can also submit your book for review.
Okay.
And you can through this website, you can submit your self-published book for review. And according to the emails that I got, and from what I've heard from other authors through like social media, it is a pretty exclusive process. You're just submitting it. You're not guaranteed a review. Like, it has to pass, I think, 2 rounds of eliminations. Like,
Good job.
Wow.
I got an email. I remember getting 2 separate emails. I got one email saying that it was being considered. Like, that right there is that's the first. Getting past that in itself is already like, woohoo! It's being considered, because a lot of books apparently are not even considered for reviews. I'm like, all right, cool. And I remember getting the actual email because it was like 12:30 at night, and because I'm a night owl, and I was still awake, and I was on my phone because I'm human, and I saw the email notification come in, and it just said, congratulations, your book has been chosen for review. And I screamed. And like, I came running in, because my mother and I live together, and I came running into the living room, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm freaking out and telling her about it. I'm like, no one's awake. It's the middle of the night. And no one is awake.
Who can I share this with
me? Like, everyone else in their right mind is asleep. This is such a problem. No one is here to celebrate this with me. But yeah, so I very specifically remember that.
Yes, what a great story.
It's funny that they would email you in the middle of the night. That's what's funny too.
Exactly. I mean, who knows like where their office is? It may have been earlier for them. Like if they're in California or wherever, like it may have been a lot earlier for them. But for me, it was about 12:30 at night for me to get that, and I was just like, I just lost my mind. It was ridiculous. But all in all, the process, I want to say that I submitted the book. The very first submission was in like November of last year. And I want to say that I got the official the official news that they were going to review it maybe in March.
Okay.
Right around the time, I think it was right around the time that I was going to release the second book, After Effects. But the review itself didn't come out until May. So it was a very long process from start to finish. But to me, it was totally worth it, because for one thing, there's that validation. Like, Publishers Weekly thinks the book is good enough to review.
Yes.
Which, like, even though like I was anxious that it would be a bad review, because it's just that's just the anxiety that you have. That's always a risk.
Sure.
But, my thought was like, if it was going to be bad, they wouldn't have bothered.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal validation, but it also adds a level of credibility, because I can plaster that review over every piece of advertising that I have, every poster, the website, and I added it to the Amazon page. And it adds credibility, because people say, oh, Publishers Weekly, I know that place.
Sure, yes.
So that was amazing.
This episode of the Author Inside You podcast is brought to you by Scribophile. It's a great writing resource if you're looking for beta readers. So I'm part of a writers group on Facebook, and one of the other members was asking about getting some beta readers for some of her work. So I naturally suggested Scribophile, and she had this to say.
I posted a story last night after gaining enough karma points by providing a critique, and received my first critique on a creative nonfiction piece this morning.
Now that is fast. You sign up for Scribophile at night, you give a critique to somebody else's work, you gain enough karma points, you upload one of your works, and already you have a beta reader that you're looking for. That's pretty cool.
You might be asking, what are karma points? Well, you earn them by critiquing other works or having members like and react to your critiques. If you leave a critique for a community member, you will gain karma points. And then if other community members read your critique and think that you are doing a good job, they can react to it and you can earn even more karma points.
If you're looking for beta readers and a critique of your work, check out Scribophile at scribophile.com.
Well, Kelsey, what advice would you give to fellow authors?
The biggest advice I would have, other than the general, like, keep trucking on, you'll get there one day, other than very, very general advice like that, honestly has to do with research. These two books were very, very research heavy. They deal with time travel, so you've got pseudoscience, but also that it really needs to have like a basis in factual science as much as you can. There was history to think of, but also like fiddly little details that why would the internet know this? Like, I had to send someone who lived in New York, which is where the books are set. I sent someone on an errand for me one day. Like, can you tell me what material this fountain is made of? Because I can't find any information. It's fiddly little details like that. Mm-hmm. Like, is there a metal detector at this one entrance of a random museum? So my advice is kind of twofold. Do your research to the best of your practical abilities. Pursue every angle, really sit there and think about, really do your research, but also let it go at some point. Because there's actually, in both of the books, there is a foreword, and it basically says look, guys, I did my best. I did research. I asked people. I did my best, but it goes, damn it, reader, I'm a writer, not a doctor, a biologist, a zoologist, a temporal expert, all these things. I had to let go at some point, and I had to accept that all I could do was the best that I could, and then I had to let it go. And it basically just says y'all, I tried. Just be nice to me. Well, that's pretty much it.
It sounds with your personality, people will be nice to you. You seem to have a very, very personable and seem like a fun person. So
thanks.
That always helps out.
Right. Well, speaking of that, so Kelsey, how can our audience reach out and get in touch with you?
So there's all kinds of ways. Like I said, I am all up in Tumblr's business. My Tumblr name is actually the weirdest thing, and I should probably change it, but I've just grown so fond of it. Because it was randomly generated by Tumblr, and I was like, okay, I like that. It's a sassy panda candy. It's Tumblr gave me that randomly generated, and I said, you know what? That's gold. I like it, and so I've just become so fond of it. So you can find me on Tumblr, sassy panda candy. You can also find me on Twitter at Kelsey_writes_, Instagram at Kelsey_writes. Without the underscore, haha. Tricked ya. And Facebook at Kelsey Clifton Author. And then KelseyClifton.com. Honestly, I should have started with KelseyClifton.com, because if you go there, there's all kinds of links to my social media.
All right, so we'll have all your contact information in the show notes. And Kelsey, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you very much for coming on our show.
It's been so great talking to you guys. I really appreciate this.
If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe or follow button in your podcast app.
This way you'll never miss an episode.
And until next time,
Right on.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.